Hey everyone, and welcome to my Procreate demo for the piece I call Bone Machine. So it's been a while since I've posted something. I've been traveling and stuff. I'll be tackling some of those questions when I do my Q&A response next week. But I wanted to definitely get this one out there since the piece has been sort of sitting around on Instagram and stuff for a while. So this is just essentially a full body design that was done for fun. So there was really no design goal when I went into it other than exploring fun shapes. So you can see that it starts with just sort of this rough of a body that could go sort of anywhere, and then once the face starts settling in, it's pretty clear that he's going to be some sort of a zombie type monster type thing. So I decided to really lean into the zombie angle and go from there. You can see there he had a headband with some hair at one point, but then I just decided that I kind of didn't like that. And as the design goes on, that's when I finally get my idea to do sort of like a porn star, a zombie porn star basically. Maybe he was turned into a zombie when he was on the job, who knows. But as it sort of goes on, that's where it develops. So just mostly exploring a lot of expressive anatomy and some general just like fun shapes. And that's just really how this whole thing went. Like I said, no direct design goal until I really decide that he's like a porn star. So I eventually throw like the muscle shirt on him and the like G-string, which goes on right there, and then from there it's just about sort of tightening him up and making him look more like a zombie. So in this one you can see I went with sort of the way I used to do sketches on paper a long time ago. I start with like a blue pencil and then I go into a red pencil, and I decided for this I wanted to sort of keep that all the way to the end of the when the whole thing was finished. So the blue and the red ends up getting set to a multiply eventually. Right now they're just set, actually I think the red is set to a multiply at this point because you can see it's picking up some of the blue underneath it. And I'm more or less just having fun with it, having fun with the line art, and really trying to focus on that. And then later try to figure out a coloring style. So for now it's me now just going through and hammering out the rest of the design. I don't know why I felt a unibrow was super important for this character, but I think it kind of sells it. I don't know. It kind of gives him like this just slightly off look. You could totally imagine when he was a porn star that he wasn't like the best looking, but he could do the job, I guess. I think one of the most fun things about doing zombies is trying to come up with creative ways that you can sort of damage them. I didn't really go full tilt in this one. He's just got sort of like a hole in his trapezius, and then he's got like his kneecap is like shredded off, and really I don't go that far with it, but usually just because I actually just didn't want to mutilate him too much. I really liked his general anatomy, so I wanted to keep that. But generally that's my favorite thing about zombies, trying to stick something ridiculous in their head, or tear off all the skin on or even the meat on like one arm, so it's got like one big skeletal arm or something like that. But yeah, speaking of that, I guess I just needed to finish the trifecta of various zombies, because now on this channel I believe I have a bluish zombie, a purplish zombie, and now I have a green zombie. So I think that means that I'm done with zombies. I think I've hit all of the fun colors that a zombie can be at this point. So now we're sort of at that stage in any kind of piece of art where I'm more or less just executing. I mean, there are decisions that I'm taking as I go throughout this, but for the most part, it's just sort of like, okay, I know this is going to happen. I know this is going to happen. Let's just keep filling it in. Per usual, watching TV while working on this, so it's just a lot of listening to whatever I'm watching and then continuing to plow through my blueprint. So around this time, I'm probably starting to think about how I'm going to color it. There's a lot of ways that you can take something based on your skill set. I have a handful of ways that are sort of like my default. So at this point I'm thinking, do I completely render this thing up, or do I make it look like a watercolor, or do I make it look like a comic book, or do I do some sort of flat shadow thing, or what do I do? So one thing that I really enjoyed in the past was when I did the crow piece on my channel, which you can find. I didn't really put like any shadowing in for the most part, and I really enjoyed that. So I actually thought to myself, hey, let's just try something like that. Like, why not keep it really simple and just sort of let the lines do the talking? So that's ultimately where I end up going, which you'll see in a minute. And I thought it'd be fun here to do his tribal tattoo, which, I mean, he's a porn star, so obviously he's got to have a tribal tattoo. I thought it'd be fun to do it in sort of like a purple pencil, just to sort of set it a little bit differently. I think ultimately when I get to the coloring stage, I do sort of tweak that because I wanted to read okay, and I don't know if it read super well. But that was obviously the goal there, just to try and treat it like I have 3 different pencils. Let's try and separate something out that way. So now I'm just working on the leg anatomy. See, I put the little kneecap there where his bone is exposed, and now we're working on the other leg. Thought it'd be fun to give him a little janky toe, so that's why his pinky toe is a little off. It probably isn't strong enough to make it look like I did it on purpose, but I did do it on purpose. It probably looks like I just didn't know how to stick that pinky toe on there, which I guess is sometimes a design rule that I didn't really follow, which is like, if you're going to do something like that, make it look super obvious, like have it, I don't know, breaking off at a 90-degree angle or something. But I just thought it'd be like a fun little thing. I don't know. I'm just full of wisdom right now. I did it. I don't know why. I just. So now I'm putting the leg hair on, because, again, I just think that's sort of a funny touch. I mean, we all know that, like, that whole porn star thing where, like, everybody's hairless. So I just like the idea that this dude went through all the trouble to take care of everything except for his, like, lower legs. It's just sort of like a weird. I don't know. It's sort of. Maybe it doesn't say as much as I think it does, but I feel like it says a lot about this guy's character before he got turned into a zombie. He probably talked to the director and was like, well, it's not like you're shooting my legs. By the way, I apologize if you hear me sniffling at all in this video. I'm per usual, I'm battling a cold, because I feel like I'm always battling a cold, and I try to edit out all the sniffles, but I might miss some, so sorry about that. I was going to say sorry in advance, but I probably already did it like 100 times in this video. So now we're getting to the part where I do the coloring. As I said, I wanted to keep it basic. I want to keep it without very much or at all shadow. So I start with just sort of doing his overall green skin layer, and I wanted to keep him a little bit on the yellow side of green, just because I thought that obviously that gets a little bit more sickly. And then I threw in sort of this light yellow. It's almost like a lizard sort of vibe going on. Same thing with that darkening of the green, but I just thought it also sort of would speak to, you know, that how you're sort of more exposed on the chest, on the inner arms, and on the neck, and then you're a little bit rougher on the outside. I just thought it sort of helps to imply that. So then there's with the tattoo, I sort of blurred it out and altered its color a little bit. Everything here is basically just flattening it with a little bit of gradient here or there to sort of have like that little bounce on the reflection on the eyes. But everything is basically just a flat color applied with like the flat brush, the one that's in the airbrush section. It's just a hard circle. And then for this, I just went in and did like a purple, set it to multiply, and then lowered the opacity a ton to make his like disgusting disease that's all over him just that way it picks up some of the color that's underneath, and so it feels like it's a little bit more integrated with his body. Then I put like a big old gradient on the bottom half of him to darken him from the bottom to the top, and then I put some of that white bloom you could see there just to knock back, like separate his arm from his leg and to sort of set him in the environment. And then here is the lettering on a shirt. I just freehanded this. It wasn't as detailed as when I did that farmer picture. This was me just sort of freehanding it and just hoping for the best and just trying to be a little bit on the precise side. So after I do the main lettering there, I do just like a white outline around the whole thing, and then adjust its opacity just so that it's not too strong. I wanted all the coloring in this, aside from the fact that he's like a big green dude, I wanted it all to be kind of subtle and be in the warm spectrum so that it felt, I don't know, just it all felt unified. So then I just threw that shadow there under the shirt and the shadow on his left leg to sort of sell the depth on that, and then a shadow under his head to just sort of separate his head out. And then there it is again, just so that you could watch it all one more time. So that's basically it for this piece. Now I just want to take some time to talk about various layer tricks that I do that sometimes fly by way too fast in other videos. So here's some of the sort of like live recordings so we can see this. So I just took that zombie and put him into a different canvas and blew him up so that you guys could see it really nicely. You can see I got 2 layers in there that were 2 different papers. Now I'm just going to take the background and I'm going to set it to something more like this darker yellow, just so that we can see all of the changes much more clearly. The very first effect, so to speak, I'm going to talk about is just the watercolor paper texture. People ask me about this all the time, and I know it flies by really fast in a lot of the videos, so let's take a minute here to actually look at it. So this is just a public domain photo of watercolor paper. I just sort of use the same one all the time because it's easy and it's just going for the watercolor look, but I definitely recommend taking different papers and taking photos and sort of keeping those around so that you can use them for various things. So here I just size it up so that it covers the entire canvas. I actually oversize it just a little bit to really sell that texture. And then when you open up the layer right there, you'll see that little N, and that stands for normal. When you tap on it, it expands all of these layer effects. And then from there, I just tap on the one that says multiply. And that's what gives you this effect right here, where it's picking up a little bit of, well, it's picking up the entire drawing underneath, and then the texture is applying to it. So the reason that this works like it does is because multiply, here I'm adjusting the opacity to show you, multiply works where anything on that layer that's closer to white becomes transparent, and anything closer to black becomes solid, and everything in between has a certain value for how much the color transfers to what's underneath. So when you're using something like the watercolor paper, multiply is a really good one to use because there's a lot of white there. Now next is this damaged paper. So this is just a good way to add a little bit of wear and tear to a picture. So I'm going to size it up again, just like the last ones, but I'm going to be a little bit more precise in the way I fit it, because what I'm really looking for is I'm looking for those edges to creep into the picture a little bit. So there I just adjusted it a little bit further. Now I'm just going to run through a bunch of different layer settings here so that you can see. Even though I can explain what most of the layer settings do from sort of a technical point of view, and others can also, like I would hate to do that without just telling you guys to experiment. Just go in and have fun with it and try a lot of different things. So here is where I take that layer and I make it multiply. And it's doing what it does. The white is becoming more transparent, the dark is becoming more solid. There I am adjusting its opacity, so maybe multiply is the look you're going for. But this is where the experiment part is really important. Might be the look that you're going for, but somebody else might be going for something else. So here we jump over to the contrast tab and we use overlay, and this is what we get. The white really blows out the piece and the dark sort of falls away. It's a little bit more on the saturated side. So you might want that for like a post-apocalyptic look. Here's what hard light looks like. I mean, I'm really just going through these so that you can see, like, there's a lot of different vibes that you can get with this one texture depending on what it is you're trying to do. I like how that light in there really disrupts the darks on the original. So now what I'm going to do is show you that, like, what I'll ultimately choose to do just for this really fast experimental demo is I'm going to go with multiply, but then I'm going to adjust its opacity, and I'm also going to duplicate the layer and mess with that. So what I'm doing here is I want that layer to be there and adding some damage to the piece, but then I want to duplicate that layer and crank it all the way up to max. And see, now I'm going through with a soft brush and I'm erasing away at that top more intense layer. And now the hope is that I've got something where it's more of a controlled amount of damage that I've got really cranked up, and then I turn the opacity down, and then the piece that's underneath, the layer that's underneath gives a little bit of damage to the whole thing. So I've got this minimal amount of damage, and then I've got this controlled amount of damage that I have on top. Now the very last thing I'm going to show you isn't about layers and using photos to manipulate the thing underneath. I'm just going to show you my vignette technique, because some people have also asked about this, and this is definitely one of those things that flies by in most of the videos. So you can see here, I've got a new layer and I fill it black, and then from there I size it. I just go to the normal size and I size it down. And then from there I go into Gaussian blur and I blur it a ton. I blur it as much as I possibly can, which is what you see right there. Then I just sort of size it a little bit more. I want to make sure that it really gets to the edges, because I don't want that vignette in this particular case to creep in too much. And then on a new layer, I select the previous layer by tapping on the thumbnail and then selecting select, and then you hold down the select button and you tap on the invert key and then fill that in the new layer. So now what I've got here is this blurry ring basically around the entire thing. So now you can take that and you can set it to a soft light, or you can set it to an overlay or a multiply, or whatever it is you're looking for. Here I did 2 soft lights, so I doubled up on the soft light layers, and it creates this pretty cool little vignette trick. It's fairly simple. It's simplistic, I should say, but it really gets the job done. Especially, this is a very basic thing we're looking at right now, but if you're putting in all these layer effects and stuff, you can sort of see. So here I've got the watercolor paper turned on and the vignette, and you can just sort of see how those two things are playing together with the piece. So anyways, that is basically it. I just wanted to show a few little quick tricks at the end of this. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed watching the drawing, and I hope that these tips at the end were helpful. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you at the next one. Thanks. And if you're looking for me on the internet, these are the places where you can find me.